Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is all about the Galar region. Today we are building a theme team consisting of Galarian Pokemon and trying to get some wins in the Classic Master League. Now for the team, on the lead we have our newly built level 40 shiny Obstagoon, we have Zacian as our safe switch, and Melmetal as our closer. Now I do know that Melmetal is kind of in this weird middle ground between Gen 7 and Gen 8, so for the purposes of this video, we're going to consider it Gen 8. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's take a look at the Galarian gang in action. Alright, hopping into the first match, pretty nice lead Obstagoon into Mewtwo. We are able to hit them for super effective damage with the Night Slash, but we do have to be careful, of course, for that double super effective Focus Blast. So I am going to switch here after 9 Psycho Cuts. I try and catch the Focus Blast. Unfortunately, my opponent does not throw. They're going to be able to land a Psy Strike, and now they're going to bring in a Giratina Origin. Now, this is one situation where not having Play Rough is very unfortunate, so I am just going to go for the single resisted Wild Charge, and we will be able to land 2, which will do a nice amount of damage. But them switching in the Giratina Origin definitely makes sense here, because they recognize that it has absolutely no play against my Obstagoon. But here's the nice thing about this matchup. Every move they throw in their typical moveset of Ominous Wind and Shadow Ball is triple resisted. So I can farm all the way up to 100 energy here, and you know what? I'm going to take advantage of that. And the opponent actually decides to switch out. They didn't want to get taken out, and they bring out Dialga. And this is really, really good for me because I have that Melmetal in the back. So we're going to be able to land the Cross Chop, and now we bring in the Melmetal. We're just going to keep farming all the way up to 2 superpowers. So that way we'll be able to throw them back to back if need be. First superpower, we do get the shield. I accidentally overfarmed by 1 and they reach a charge move. Since my defense is lowered, I am going to shield that up. It's just the Iron Head. But now we're going to go for that second superpower, which should be taking out the Dialga. And now they bring in Mewtwo. I'm going to be going for the Rock Slide straight away. Very nice job overfarming by my opponent, recognizing that they would win CMP with the Mewtwo. I'm going to go for this Rock Slide. It's single debuffed, but we'll do a nice chunk of damage to the Mewtwo, and now we're going to aggressively switch in the Obstagoon, overfarm slightly ourselves, and then go for the Night Slash. We're able to get the shield, which is fantastic, and here I'm recognizing I need to shield this up, because even a Psy Strike from Mewtwo is probably going to be doing more than a Shadow Ball would, so we'll tank the Psy Strike, that's just fine. In comes the Giratina Origin. Sure, throw your triple resisted move. They go for the Ominous Wind, hoping for the boost. They're not able to get it. We're going to be connecting with this Night Slash, and we're able to counter down the Mewtwo and get the win. So things off to a good start with the Galarian theme team. Hopping into the second match, and that's a pretty rough lead in Kyogre, so we are going to save swap into our Zacian. And this is why it's really, really nice to have Wild Charge on the Zacian. We're able to farm up to 2 here, and now we're going to be doing massive damage and being able to threaten the shield. That does huge damage, and they're going to have to shield this up, or they're definitely going to be taken out. They do decide to commit the shield, but honestly, we were able to get shield advantage out of that, so I am pretty thrilled with how it turned out. I am going to shield up the Obstagoon. Obstagoon, as you can see, is very underpowered for the Master League, so I really want to protect it whenever possible. They have a Togekiss, I'm going to bring in Melmetal, and they have a Lugia in the back, so they have a double flyer strategy. So things are looking incredible for us. Our Melmetal has a ton of play. Now here, we are going to try and carefully time our charge moves just so we aren't letting in any extra Dragon Tails. And we're going to be going for another Rock Slide, and this should be taking them out or getting that shield. My guess is we will see the shield. That makes quite a bit of sense, and I am going to be shielding this up, and unfortunately, I do get baited. That is definitely not ideal. They're going to be connecting with the Sky Attack here, but honestly, that's fine. We're just going to farm up a bunch. They're going to get to another Sky Attack. Honestly, still fine. Melmetal is very tanky. We just have to watch for the switch. They bring in the Togekiss, trying to snipe with the Charm. Fortunately, Charm does not do a lot to Melmetal. We'll be able to connect with these back-to-back Rock Slides, which are going to be taking care of the Togekiss. And from here, we can bring in our Obstagoon, and shiny Obstagoon is going to be able to close this game for us. And the opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Alright, hopping into the next match, we have Obstagoon into Yveltal. Now this is honestly not a great lead for us, so I am going to save switch into the Melmetal and save our hard counter Zacian in the back. We're able to connect with a Rock Slide. That does a nice amount of damage. Here they throw after 4. This is just a Dark Pulse, so I don't have to shield that. So a bit of a misplay by my opponent, and as you can see, now they're going to bank some energy and switch into a Zacian of their own. So things are looking fairly tricky here, as Melmetal does not have a great matchup against Zacian, neither does Obstagoon. So my best response to an enemy Zacian is my own. So things are looking a little tough here. I am going to let that close combat go. I definitely cannot bring in the Obstagoon, as we'll be taking double super effective damage, so I do need to bring in my own Zacian here. Now I am going to let this go. The play rough does hurt quite a bit, but I am going to overfarm, and unfortunately I overfarm too much, and because I have a very poor IV Zacian, I lose CMP. I do recognize that that's just the close combat, so I don't have to shield it up, but man, having that extra health would be really, really nice. And now we are going to be going for the Wild Charge. We're able to land it onto the Mewtwo. We're going to bring in the Obstagoon, and back in comes Yveltal. Now the question is, we shield it, and they're actually running Hurricane. Interesting. So actually not running Focus Blast. So the fact that they didn't build up to the Focus Blast makes a little bit more sense, but even if you don't have it, it's still worth building up. And here I'm recognizing that I can survive a Hurricane, so I am going to let that go, whereas the move I can't survive would be a potential Focus Blast from the Mewtwo. So we let the Hurricane go. They're going to have a tough time Psycho Cutting us down, and we are going to start unloading these Night Slashes onto this poor Mewtwo. We're able to get it very low, and now we're able to snipe with the Snarl from Zacian, and that is going to be a good game. Alright, hopping into the next match. Pretty decent lead. We have our Obstagoon into an Excadrill, and I just forgot the name of Excadrill real quick. Alright, anyways, and they save swap into Palkia, and we are going to counter swap into our Zacian. Unfortunately, we don't have a great response to a Palkia, so we're just going to farm up to 100 energy, and we're going to start unloading these Wild Charges. Unfortunately, if they do decide to commit shields, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to maintain switch advantage, but at the very least, we can get shields down, which should hopefully be helpful in the end game. And fortunately, my opponent not realizing how fast we get to Wild Charge, and we're able to get both shields. That is so nice, and now we're going to bring in Melmetal, and you know what? Let's see if we can't Thundershock down. If we're able to Thundershock down, then that should be pretty okay for us, because then we can have superpowers to throw at the Excadrill. Now let's see, moment of truth. What do they have? They bring in Excadrill, and we're going to be going for this superpower onto the Excadrill, but they catch it onto Zacian. Incredible play there by my opponent, and things are looking very, very tough for us, because unfortunately at this health, and since my defense is debuffed, they can actually threaten with Play Roughs. So they are going to be going for the Play Rough there. And now we have to trust in Obstagoon to try and close this match for us. Obstagoon with 2 shields, going for the Night Slash, desperately trying to get that boost, and we're not able to get there. Going for the second Night Slash again, but we get the boost. Okay, so we potentially have life here. Obstagoon able to get the boost. We are now doing 50% more damage. They switch out, and they're going to switch into the Excadrill. Now, Cross Chop here, after being boosted, does a nice amount of damage. Now, I believe we should survive a Drill Run here, but we would not survive a close combat. We have to call this. We barely survive. We're able to farm down, and we're able to farm down the Zacian and get the win. So a clutch boost allows us to beat a Zacian and get the win. Hopping into the next match, very nice lead. We have Obstagoon into the Dialga. They're going to save swap into Togekiss, and we have an incredible answer to their Togekiss with our Melmetal. Now here I am going to overfarm slightly, and they throw on 8. This is just an Ancient Power. I don't have to shield this. And actually, I'm thinking that I should probably overfarm here so I can leave with some extra energy to threaten the Dialga if they do bring it back in. Question is, will they? They will not. They have Giratina Origin, so they were double weak. They were double weak to Obstagoon and switched in their only counter, and now Obstagoon should have an absolute field day here. And this Melmetal is putting in so much work as well. They're trying to Shadow Claw down a pretty healthy Melmetal, and we are able to do so much damage, and now they get nervous about our energy and decide to throw the Ominous Wind. So things are looking fantastic for us here. We're actually going to bring in the Zacian, as Zacian has a very comfortable Dialga matchup. We are going to be able to shield this Iron Head, and we are just going to start unloading these close combats onto this poor Dialga. First close combat, we're able to get the shield, and now we farm up 2 more Snarls. We throw close combat number 2, and we're only 2 Snarls away from close combat number 3. We're able to get there. Oh no, this is rough. Does huge damage to the Dialga. They get to a move. At this point, I no longer need the Zacian. We're going to save the shield for our Obstagoon. Obstagoon comes in, and there's just absolutely nothing this Giratina is going to be able to do. They throw the Shadow Ball, and that just does absolutely no damage. And at this point, I am fully expecting my opponent to top left, as there's very clearly not a win con for them. They decide to stay in the match, so I decide we're going to counter them down. So they keep going for the Ominous Wind, hoping for the boost. Obstagoon able to counter them down, counter down the Dialga as well, and get the win. Alright, hopping into the next match. Obstagoon into Zacian. This is a terrible lead for us. Unfortunately, I only really have 1 counter in my own Zacian, but they actually counter swap into a Dialga, which is a very curious swap. Dialga does not have a good Zacian matchup, and we are going to be able to absolutely crush this Dialga. Dialga applies absolutely no fast move pressure to Zacian. It's one of the reasons why Zacian is significantly better than Zamazenta. We're able to land the close combat. Can we farm down? Unfortunately, just can't quite farm down. But as you can see, we still have a ton of health left. So now we're going to be able to farm down, and we leave with so much loaded energy. And we're just going to be able to start unloading these charge moves. Wild Charge onto the Lugia. We are going to throw a second Wild Charge onto this Lugia. Let's see if we can force the shield. We do. They switch into their own Zacian. Our Zacian is not done, going for another Wild Charge. And now we're going to bring in Melmetal. Now, the nice thing here is a close combat does not one-shot us. They throw the close combat, and now, since they didn't have 2 stored, we're going to be able to get to a Rock Slide, and with their debuff defense, that will just about be taking them out. They're able to hang on with 1 HP, throw the second close combat, but from here, I can bring in the Obstagoon. They're going to bring in the Lugia, and here, I'm thinking we should be okay. We are going to be going for the Night Slash. That does a nice chunk of damage. Now, the question is, does an Aero Blast one-shot here? They go for the Aero Blast. It does one-shot. In comes the Zacian, and Zacian able to get to a Wild Charge. So Zacian staying alive for so long. That fairy typing is absolutely incredible, and that is going to be a good game. Hopping into the next match. Pretty nice lead, Obstagoon into Dialga. I do have 2 better Dialga counters in the back, and my opponent catches the cross chop onto their own Zacian. So very nice play there. And now I am going to be bringing in my own Zacian here, and we are able to sneak through a Snarl, which is very nice. I'm expecting to play rough, but they go for a Wild Charge. And unfortunately, since I have a very poor IV Zacian, I do lose CMP on the second one, so I am forced to shield. And now we are going to be going for the Wild Charge here. Their defense is debuffed, which is really, really nice for me, because I'm going to be able to apply a ton of pressure here. Going for the second Wild Charge, gets the shield, able to get to Wild Charge number 3. That's going to be taking out the opposing Zacian, and we're able to win switch and shield advantage. They bring in the Dialga to go for the Iron Head to try and take me out. I am going to shield that up, and they have a Dragon Tail Groudon in the back. So this is actually pretty cool. This battler is actually running a team that I featured the other day. So now we're going to bring in the Obstagoon and just try and get as much usefulness out of it as we can. We should survive the Fire Punch here. It does get us very low, but we will be able to fire back with the Night Slash, which will be getting them low as well. They're able to farm down. Now here I'm thinking I should bring in the Zacian because they're probably going to throw since Dragon Tail does basically no damage. And now from here, I should hopefully be able to outpace with the Melmetal. And they actually switch out. They bring in the Dialga. So they were unable to catch. I am going to be going for the superpower. We built up to 100 energy. First superpower doesn't quite take them out. They're at a move. I lost count. Are they at the Draco? It's just the Iron Head. Unfortunately, we did trigger CMP. I don't hit any bubbles. I'm hoping it won't KO. They bring back in the Groudon, but we're just able to outpace. We get to the superpower. So an incredibly scary endgame, but we're able to get the win. Good game, my goodness. All right, hopping in the next one. Obstagoon into Palkia. This is a pretty bad lead for Obstagoon. Basically, anytime Obstagoon has a neutral matchup in terms of typing, it's usually not the best, just because, unfortunately, Obstagoon is pretty glassy in Masters. And we are going to bring in the Zacian, and they're staying in. So we're just going to start unloading these wild charges, doing as much damage as possible to the Palkia. Our defense is 4 stages debuffed here, so I am going to let the Aqua Tail go. Unfortunately, doesn't quite KO, which is less than ideal. And now we're going to bring in the Melmetal. Now, my hope here is hopefully I can Thundershock all the way down and leave with a ton of energy for whatever's in the back. We are able to sneak the Thundershock through. That's very nice. And I am going to preserve some health by spending a shield there. And they have an Excadrill. So this makes me think that this could be the PB Poke recommended team, which I believe is Palkia, Excadrill, and Lugia. So I'm now expecting a potential Lugia in the back, and it is a Lugia in the back. And so Obstagoon should do okay here. We are able to hit for a super effective with the Night Slash, but there is a massive difference in terms of the stat product of these two Pokemon in the Master League. So even though we're hitting for super effective damage, boy, it really doesn't look like we are. Now here, the question is, I don't know if a Sky Attack kills. I call it. They go for the Aero Blast. So now we just have to trust in Melmetal. And the opponent had a move on Palkia. So we are going to have to shield this up. We do shield up the Aqua Tail. We have to farm down, and we're able to farm down. But unfortunately, the Lugia still has a shield, and they are outside of Rock Slide range. We will have to get to a third Rock Slide to take them out, and they let it go. They're at a move. I believe we should survive the Sky Attack, which we do barely. We're able to get to a Rock Slide. Now, the question is, can we get to one more? We get the shield, and we get Dragon Tail down. Such a close match. Unfortunately, not quite able to pull it off. All right, hopping into the next match. We have Obstagoon into Mewtwo. Again, a pretty solid lead for us. We definitely just have to watch for that Focus Blast. So we are going to be throwing the Night Slash here, and now they're at the Focus Blast. The question is, will they bait? We call it, and they bait with the Psy Strike. That is so good for us. And now, before they reach a bigger move, we are going to be connecting with that Night Slash. Does get them very low, and we switch into Zacian to try and catch a potential Focus Blast, and they opt to not throw their energy, and by doing so, actually get snarled down. Now, we bring in the Zacian, as I mentioned, and they counter with Kyogre, and this is where Wild Charge is so nice, as we're able to apply a ton of pressure. I am going to shield up that Surf, and we're going to be going for the second Wild Charge here, and this should probably be getting the second shield. Now, let's see, can they Waterfall down? They cannot. We reach another Wild Charge. Guys, I know I've mentioned it quite a bit this week, but Zacian is incredible. Now here I switch into the Obstagoon. I thought I had a move loaded, so I was going to try and snipe. Unfortunately, I did not. Let's see what they have in back, and they have an Excadrill in the back. So we're going to be going for the Cross Chop. Cross Chop doing a nice amount of damage. Unfortunately, we do get outpaced there since they snuck through the Mud Shot. That is going to be taking me out, but we have Melmetal in the back, and from here, things are looking pretty good for us, as we'll be able to connect with the Superpower versus the Excadrill. I am going to overfarm here just a little bit before they do get to the next drill run there, and that will allow us to reach the Superpower versus the Kyogre, and that is going to be a good game. So that game got pretty scary there, but we were still able to get the job done. All right, Obstagoon into Excadrill. This is not as good of a matchup as you might think, but the opponent switches out into their own Zacian. Now the question is, are they running Play Rough or Wild Charge? They do have the Play Rough. We have the Wild Charge, so it is going to debuff our defense, unfortunately. But how I like to play this matchup is I'll typically let the first Play Rough through and then start shielding after my defense has been lowered. Unfortunately, I went for the sneak. I tried to get the extra Snarl there. Unfortunately, no such luck. They go for the second Play Rough, but now I am at the back-to-back Wild Charge. Unfortunately, they're able to sneak through a free Snarl, which is less than ideal, and they sneak through again. No! They are getting a ton of free energy, and they're actually going to switch out into Meloetta, which is a very, very cool pick, and not one that I think I've seen at all in the Master League yet. So very, very cool to see. And I am just going to try and connect with these Rock Slides, do as much damage as we can, and we'll see what moveset it's running. And they decide to go for the Psyshock. So Psyshock, that's pretty okay with me. We can tank the Psyshock here. We're not too worried about that. Unfortunately, we let a Confusion through. That is really, really bad. And now we're going to overfarm as much as we can, try and throw, but I lost count due to the fact that they had snuck through the extra Confusion and they're able to force the shield. So things are not looking good for us here. That Zacian has loaded energy, and with shields down, I am very, very worried that this Zacian is going to close combat my Obstagoon. I am going to have to watch for the swap here. We bring in the Obstagoon, we have to watch for the swap, and we try and catch, and we're unable to do so. And we get close combated there, and we get snarled down. Absolutely tragic. Good game. All right, hopping into the next match. We have Obstagoon into Melmetal. Now, this is not a great matchup for us by any means, because we just don't hit very hard as an Obstagoon. So even though we're hitting for a super effective cross chop and they lower their defense, as you're going to see, this doesn't actually do that much damage. They're going to save swap into Zacian, and that was the Pokemon of the day. People are beginning to learn just how good Zacian is. Now, as you can see, we're actually both farming past 100 energy here, and the reason why we're both farming past 100 here is because we both have Wild Charge, and neither one of us wanted to be the one to throw first. So it was basically just a game of chicken. Unfortunately, due to my suboptimal IVs, I do lose CMP on the second one, so I'm forced to commit a shield. So now we're actually down 2 shield. So this is looking a little rough. I am going to be going for the close combat here, and I want to try and preserve the Zacian for endgame. So now we're actually going to bring in the Melmetal. I can't bring in the Goon, it's going to get one shot by a superpower, but we are going to bring it in, and we're going to go for a superpower of our own, and this will be taking them out or forcing that final shield. Either one is okay with me. They actually let it go down, and they have Yveltal in the back. So we have a chance here. We preserved our Zacian, so we have a shot to win this match. And they keep farming up, and I actually decide to go for the superpower because I'm like, you know what? Any damage is good damage at this point. They're capped at 100 energy, and now they're going to throw. After they throw this Dark Pulse, they are at 4 Snarls. They need 6 to get to the Focus Blast. So I wait for 2 Snarls. We catch onto the Zacian. Tell me we caught it. Yes, we catch the Focus Blast. We bring in the Obstagoon, and the opponent concedes the match. Oh my goodness. So all in all, I had a blast running this team. I did end up going slightly negative on the day, so it's not a team I'd recommend if you're looking to climb. But man, this was a really fun theme team, and this will not be the last you see of that Obstagoon on this channel. Despite being really underpowered, it put in a decent amount of work. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.